You did the work, you went into therapy, you set the boundaries, you chose yourself. And somewhere in the middle of that, you looked around and realized how quiet it had become. The people who used to fill your time no longer feel like home. The conversations feel shallow, the room feels smaller, and you feel utterly, unexpectedly alone. This is episode 3 of the healing era nobody talks about. Today we talk about the loneliness phase, the part nobody warns you about when they tell you healing will set you free. Here is the thing about healing that the wellness world doesn't put on its aesthetically pleasing graphics. When you change, truly change, you become someone new. And becoming someone new means the old life no longer fits the same way. The friendships built on shared dysfunction start to feel hollow. The relationships that required you to be small become suffocating. The environments that once felt normal now feel like places you can't breathe. This is not you being difficult. This is not you becoming too much. This is called growth. And growth, by its very nature, separates you from what you've outgrown. The loneliness of healing is real. It is also temporary. But in the middle of it, it can feel like proof that choosing yourself was a mistake. It wasn't. It never is. Healing loneliness is not one thing. It comes in 3 distinct forms, and each one requires something different from you. Kind 1, outgrowing people. This is the loneliness that arrives quietly, not with a fight, not with a dramatic ending, just a slow, aching realization that you and someone you love are no longer going the same direction. You used to bond over shared pain, now you don't want to live there anymore. You used to laugh at the same things, now the humor feels unkind. You used to need each other in a specific way, now that need has changed and the relationship doesn't know how to exist without it. Outgrowing someone doesn't make them bad, it doesn't make you better, it just makes you different, and different when it reaches a certain distance becomes lonely. The grief of outgrowing someone you love is one of the most under-acknowledged losses in the human experience. There's no funeral for a friendship that quietly fades, no ritual for the relationship you had to release in order to become who you needed to be. But the loss is real, and you are allowed to grieve it fully, even as you keep walking forward. Kind 2, not yet finding your people. There is a gap in healing, a no man's land, where the old connections have loosened and the new ones haven't formed yet. You've done enough work to know what you're looking for. You know the kind of relationships you want, the depth, the safety, the reciprocity. You've stopped settling for less, but the people who can meet you there haven't found you yet, or you haven't found them, and the in-between is brutally, achingly quiet. This phase makes people doubt their standards. It makes them wonder if they've become too selective, too much, too intense, too healed for anyone to actually want to be around. None of that is true. What's actually happening is this. You have raised the quality of what you'll accept, and quality, real quality, takes longer to find. It is rarer. It requires more alignment. It cannot be rushed or manufactured. The gap is not a sign you've made yourself unlovable. It is a sign you've made yourself selective. And selective people eventually find exactly what they were looking for. They just have to survive the in-between first. Kind 3 is feeling alone in a crowd. This is perhaps the most disorienting kind because it comes with a side of shame. You are surrounded by people who care about you, people who would show up if you called, and still you feel completely invisible, completely unseen, completely alone. And you don't understand why, because by every external measure, you shouldn't feel this way. Here's what's happening. You've developed a new interior landscape, a new level of self-awareness, a new depth of feeling and processing, and the conversations around you haven't caught up. You're talking about growth and patterns and nervous systems, and everyone else wants to talk about the weather. You want to go deep, the room wants to stay surface level, and that gap between who you're becoming and where you still are creates a loneliness that has nothing to do with being unloved, and everything to do with not yet being fully met. Being loved and being truly seen are not always the same thing, and healing makes you hunger for the second one. Here is the reframe that changes everything. The loneliness phase is not empty. It only feels empty because you're used to filling yourself with other people, with noise, with busyness, with connection, even connection that costs you. But underneath the loneliness, something extraordinary is happening. You are meeting yourself, perhaps for the first time, without the noise of a relationship that needed managing, without the performance of a friendship that required you to shrink, without the constant hum of other people's needs drowning out your own. In the quiet, you are learning what you actually think, what you actually feel, what you actually want, what actually makes you laugh, what actually matters to you. Your identity is not disappearing in this phase, it is solidifying. It is becoming something real and rooted and yours, something that doesn't shift depending on who's in the room, something that can hold its own shape even when no one is watching. That is not loneliness, that is becoming. So how do you survive the loneliness phase without running back to what you already know doesn't work? First, grieve what you've outgrown. Don't skip this step. The relationships that no longer fit deserved something from you, and you deserve to acknowledge the loss. Write it down. Say it out loud. Cry if you need to. Grief is not weakness. It's the price of having loved something real. Second, be deliberate about not going backward. The loneliness will make the old connections look more appealing than they are. It will romanticize what you left. It will whisper that maybe you were overreacting, that maybe it wasn't that bad. Know that this is the loneliness talking, not the truth. Third, start showing up in spaces aligned with who you are becoming, not to force connection, not to perform your healing, just to be around people who are also going somewhere. Your people exist. They are also in their loneliness phase. They are also waiting to be found. And finally, learn to be good company for yourself. Take yourself somewhere you've always wanted to go. Make the meal you've been putting off. Watch the thing. Read the book. Start the thing. Build a relationship with your own presence so strong that solitude stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like rest. The right people are coming. The connection that can hold the full weight of who you are. They are coming. But first you have to become someone who knows their own worth. Even when the room is quiet, you are doing right now. Even on the hard days, especially on the hard days. Tomorrow, the feeling worse before better phase, for when the healing is real, the work is working, and somehow you feel absolutely terrible. Episode 4 drops tomorrow, Thursday. Peace, love, and light, Dr. Debbie.